I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Entertainment Earth. They carry tens of thousands of licensed products covering everything from Power Rangers to Pokemon, Ultraman to Iron Man. And for RangerCast listeners, you can get 10% off your order and free shipping on any order $79 and up. Just go to ee.toys/ranger. That's ee.toys/ranger. Or click the link in our show notes. RangerCast may receive a commission from your purchase. This is RangerCast, episode 35, Early Developments on New Power Rangers series, recorded on Sunday, May 18th, 2025. Also this episode, a look at upcoming toy releases, the impact of tariffs, and new comic titles. Alright, this is RangerCast. As always, I'm Tyler, better known as Real Volto, and I'm joined by first Mike Manos.
Hello, good to be back here. This is the 35th episode, so if we were a Sentai season, this is about the time that we would start to suck. We've already introduced the giant mech, there's not much else to do until the finale, but we are not a Sentai series, so we're gonna keep on trucking at full strength.
And we have a new voice joining us this week, Greg. Hey, Greg.
Howdy, guys. I'm Greg. Well, if this was a Sentai series, I would be the change in the status quo, I suppose.
Alright, so we got a lot to get into because it's been a while since we've done a proper episode. Life stuff, like I'm in grad school, I'm writing anime convention, I just, but a lot of us, everybody's got other things going. The big thing we want to talk about later on is going to be movement toward maybe a new Power Ranger series. More on that later. First off, the import toy market, which a lot of fans deal with through sites like Collectibles and Entertainment Earth, has been rocked in recent weeks and months by against China. Sites like Entertainment Earth have actually reached out to customers about price increases and how these tariffs will affect them. These tariffs seem to be going kind of up and down based on how the president is feeling toward China at any given time. Even though these are like Japanese toys, they're still made in China and still impacted by the tariffs. And it's really throwing fans for a loop.
I feel for you, Tyler, first and foremost, as a journalist. It's a very difficult thing to report on because it's such a hot button topic and things change, I feel, almost hourly. So it's one of those things where, in a way, I feel like it's good that we actually waited a little while inadvertently to discuss this. And this is not a political podcast, so I don't want to dip my toes into the water too much about my thoughts on the whole thing, but it is unfortunate that you have these circumstances that all these retailers must deal with, but I also wonder if this is something that we've kind of taken for granted over the years, how easily we were able to import things.
Yeah, and companies like Collectibles, like there's not really anything for them to pivot to.
Indeed, and with other goods that are receiving tariffs, what's the argument that people have for tariffs? The argument is that, you should just be buying American, because why would you want to import something overseas when we have all the means to make that stuff here? But with this particular field, we don't have that option. And even if we did, I remember Bandai of America back in the day, so I'm just saying that's not something I would want anyway. But we don't even have that option anymore. So it is hard that it affects this type of industry where there are no other options. It's import or bust.
Yeah. Hopefully things calm down in the next few months, but this is definitely something that we're going to be keeping an eye on. In other serious news, Austin St. John recently was sentenced to probation in line with the request from prosecutors in connection with his role in a paycheck protection program scam. He was sentenced to 5 years probation and ordered to pay over $225,000 in restitution. According to Courthouse News, he told a federal judge in Texas that the fraud was, quote, a one-off thing. The court will never see me again. I will go back to my good works. So the judge excused him from having to pay larger, like, civil penalties beyond the restitution, citing his ability to pay. A spokesman, going back to the time of the indictment, a spokesman said that he was not the ringleader, and the testimony, the documents of the U.S. Attorney's Office bear this out, that he had no knowledge of the broader scheme. He put his, quote, faith, reputation, and finances in the hands of people who ultimately betrayed his trust. And this has been a cloud that's been hanging over him for a couple years. And I know there are fans who think he maybe should have faced a harsher punishment. But the fact of the matter is, he was not the big fish. He did not know the other co-conspirators. And with one exception of somebody had priors, nobody else in his position in this case got prison time. So that was all spoke in his favor. And hopefully he can pay that restitution back in short order.
Time to see his prices triple at the con scene. I had to look up to see the age of the judge that took this case and issued the sentence. The judge was born in 1976, so I was like, maybe it was a Power Rangers fan that was in charge of the case, but no, someone who was 17 years old was not watching Mighty Morphin when it first came out. So,
I mean, I again, this is the punishment he got was exactly what prosecutors asked for.
And just the fact that he even got anything, because I know there were a lot of, I think there was a few people that got away almost scot-free with the whole thing on this.
Yeah. Also, God, we're just, full of cheerful stuff. There was also a recent investigation discovery special that purported to tell, like, stories from behind the scenes of Power Rangers. It was I don't have HBO Max, so all this is coming from, like, accounts, but it seems like a lot of it was stuff we pretty much knew, told in a tabloidy fashion, like Jason David Frank's suicide, or the circumstances in which Twee Trang, Austin St. John, and Walter Jones left the show. There wasn't really much news out of it per se, but maybe some color. For example, and I alluded to this in the previous episode, which I interviewed Josh Moore. The firing was precipitated by Twee Trang at a meeting with the affiliates and going off script, where she said, if you value the show, then pay us, or get Saban to pay us. And she and Walter Jones and Austin St. John had the same representation. And when Haim Saban caught wind of this, he fired the three of them. And that's how the story was told in the special. What else did you guys take from the uh, the revelations, such as they were, from the special, or anything else about it.
I didn't watch it.
Well,
I didn't even watch it at all. I don't need to. I don't need to watch a special that's essentially a Watch Mojo list of 10 things you didn't know about Power Rangers, extrapolated to 45 minutes or an hour. I'm sick of these specials. It seems, again, I'm not trying to, lessen the effect of the content of the special, because we all know the people who are going to be interested in this special are going to be the kind of people who already know this stuff. The kind of people, the general market audience that I think they're going for in today's day and age, where people want instant gratification in what they watch, they're not going to watch this long special about the history of a show from 30 odd years ago. The people who want to know about it are going to know about it. But I'm sick of these, and this is not exclusive to Power Rangers. I'm sick of this predatory nature of these alleged, pseudo journalists, not people like Tyler who are actual journalists who have actual credentials. These people who are like, oh, well, I think I know what's going on, and I want to share with the world something that they actually already know, but I'm going to dress it up in a package, and I'm going to,
Yeah.
kind of make a little buck on the side. I don't need to watch the Henry resilientification of franchises in order to get people's eyes just so you can turn a profit. So I didn't bother.
And I don't need to know Dr. Drew's opinion about any of this. He featured heavily commenting on this mental state of J.C. David Frank, who he never. I know Dr. Drew, he's everywhere, but what's he doing there?
Oh, Dr. Drew will do anything for $1 when he's not filming V-Shred commercials.
well,
Remember when he used to have credentials? Remember when he used to have Loveline? Now he'll do anything. He's like the Snoop Dogg of white people.
When it comes down to it, if anybody was a fan of Power Rangers even back in the day and is still a fan now, we knew backstage, the behind the scenes was an absolute wreck. Like actors getting bad pay. I mean, we all know what happened to David Yost too, back behind the scenes. Like we all knew that Power Rangers was an absolute cluster. Like, I've known it for almost over 10 years now, since I started actually digging into what went behind the scenes, watching that show growing up.
And let me tell you what, most shows are like that. We just have the documentation of it because the show was on for 30 years.
And I'm not. The sausage gets made.
I'm not going to deny that. I'm pretty sure, the only show that was as good as it was coming out was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
So Hasbro released a first look at the Hasbro and Playmates, one or the other, released what the reignition Mighty Morphin Power Rangers reignition AI upscaling is going to look like, and it's like that meme from The Office where it's the same picture. Maybe it's because of the way they posted it on Instagram rather than blowing up or anything like that. But there's I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because there's no discernible difference between one and the other.
The sky is a slightly different shade of blue in one of the pictures. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's enough to justify a paycheck.
Yeah, they've also started running these Mighty Morphin Minute reels where they do these recaps of episodes in a minute. I'm trying to figure out who this is for. Does this appeal to kids in 2025? I'm not sure because I don't have kids in 2025.
Well, let me let you know. I have a 10-year-old. She's not a big fan of Power Rangers. She did watch Ninja Steel, but I don't think that's going to appeal to her at all. It's a 1-minute episode recap. All it really is just a Power Rangers TikTok version. Oh, you watched your minute. Scroll on to the next one. It's the same problem we've been having with attention span for years.
I mean, if it were legitimately new content crafted for, these younger audiences, but I think MMPR in this day and age, that kind of writing, that kind of acting comes off as hokey.
Well, yeah. The other thing is, I wonder if it's a rights issue. I wonder if they're specifically trying to create new content with Mighty Morphin, specifically so they can retain the rights to the material if they don't release something with it. I think it's the same reason that they had the 2010 reversioning after RPM, where there was a lull year. Also, if you're going to do this, if you're going to do AI upscaling, if you're going to condense material to 60-second bite-sized clips for media, I understand. Mighty Morphin is the gravy train. It's the most recognizable. It's the one that makes any money. But there are plenty of other things that they should do, I think, to get it out there. You want to get your eyes on Power Rangers and you want to upscale stuff? Do Hyperforce. Hyperforce is a little hard to come by now. So that would be a good way to get it out there in a more palatable way. Do Power Rangers Kids Force, their own YouTube original series. Get that down to condense to a minute. AI upscale that. Stuff that we haven't seen on television. They have all the material. You want to have fun? AI upscale old commercials for the products.
Well, the
That'll
business
be fun to
model,
see.
the business model for Power Rangers has always been based around the toys, and for this foreseeable future, maybe not permanently, but in the medium term, the only toys that are going to be out are going to be for Mighty Morphin.
Yes. Although I must say, the snark in me is coming out. The fact that you can condense a 19 to 20 minute episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers into 1 minute, and to have the suits and the people in charge feel like that getting rid of 95% of the episode doesn't really lose any of the content speaks volumes about the content of the show.
To be fair, I haven't seen any of them, but I find it hard to believe you can condense it down to a minute. Like, I guess you could like a sports, like a game of sports, like you can get down to the highlights, but can you really get to the meat and potatoes of Mighty Morphin in a minute?
Hey, you
Well,
get rid of the
think
Megazord
about
summoning
how-
sequence, you get rid of 2.5 right there.
Fair.
I mean, think about how formulaic most episodes are. Teen, like, kid of the day, all of that.
Oh, is this
Think
the
of
one
how
where
many
both his skull fall
episodes-
down, go boom?
You got to be more specific.
That was the joke. Thank you.
You think of how few beats there are in an average episode.
I mean, really, do you need the stuff with Appleby and Kaplan? Do you need the stuff with Ernie? Unfortunately, is probably going to get cut. Do you really need the bickering on the moon? Do you really need Zordon laying out exposition? Power Rangers, I know you've done this through 53 episodes so far, but I'm going to lay out in explicit detail what you need to do to conquer this monster of the week. Here's a hint, stab him in the throat. It is shocking when you try to watch old episode. I mean, it's one of those things that fans don't want to admit. But if you go back and you really try with a critical eye to look at some of the old stuff back in the day, there was just no content to this show. Saban knew what he was doing.
So speaking of Mighty Morphin, we got a new look at the Playmates Power Morpher. Now, when it was first on display at Toy Fair a while back, the Morpher looked okay. There was a suspect like button on the back to pop the Morpher open instead of the traditional button on the side. That was maybe a little unsightly, but what's more unsightly is now we've seen a shot of the package, and the coins will be removable by pull tabs rather than some other like internal mechanisms. So these tabs will jut out from the coins themselves. I'm not sure if it's a patent thing or cost thing, but Skip.
Now, I don't collect the toys. You've probably known that if you've heard me at all on this podcast. I'm not a toy guy. I wonder if the reason they did that is because of safety features that kids' toys have to have now. I mean, maybe Greg can chime in on this as a father, but I wonder that if you didn't have the pull tab to get the coin out, I wonder if any other mechanism that they could have had to physically release the coin would have required the coin to not be in quite as tightly. I wonder if the pull tab is a compromise where they can actually have the coin in there somewhat securely, and that is a means to get it out, versus either not having anything that can reliably get it out, meaning they're going to sell something that people can't even use, or it's way too loose and there'd be no way to keep it in there in the first place.
Well, I don't know. I'm looking at it. I can't really quite see. It's kind of hard, but I mean, I can't think of any safety feature or like, is the toy gonna bite? Like, I'm not.
They're
Might jam
battery
your
on the
finger
point.
in there, but
That was my primary thought, was a pinch hazard.
but
And they're
other
still
than a pinch
battery.
hazard, at some point, my kid wouldn't do something that dumb. Well, no, wait, hold on, she might, but I'm not so certain. Like, it's a safety feature. I think it's more of a cost-saving measure, to be honest with you. And to be honest on that, if the toy isn't going to be that expensive, like maybe it's a $20, $25 toy, kid's going to play with it for, what, 6 weeks at the most? I can definitely see it not having to be that expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, that's a good point where people who have collectors' mindsets are going to scoff at this kind of methodology, but toys are meant to be played with, and kids do not have just one thing that they're just going to treasure forever anymore. I mean, I didn't when I was a kid, and I'm 37 now. So it's probably the mindset of, well, it's one in a line. It's not the flagship product. Maybe we can cut a corner here or there, and they can still play with it. Because, I mean, kids are still going to be able to play with this thing. Even though we don't like the pull tab portion or other details of it, look, if you like, here you go, Bobby. Here's a toy. Play with it. I mean, kids used to play with a stick and a rock. You put anything in front of their face, they're going to get some enjoyment out of it because it's a role play device. And the fact that the morpher looks the way that it does is not what's going to excite the kid. They have a morpher. They can be a Power Ranger. Yes, you, hypothetical 8-year-old who knows about the show from 30 years ago and is still somehow the target market. This is for you.
Yeah, we're not the target market anymore. This is not for collectors. There's a collector's.
We haven't been for 30 years.
Yeah, there's a collector's line they can make, and then there's a play and break line for the kids. Now, this isn't for us. This isn't for collectors.
But something that is for us. Something that is making up for us, but you know what I mean. Over in Japan, they're going the other direction with the Dino Buckler Memorial Edition, which Bandai is retailing for 16,500 yen, or current exchange rate $113 and 70 cents. Before tariffs or whatever. It's out in November. Features a motion sensor to detect when you remove it from the holder and pose to henshin. In 5 medals, 2 background music tracks, improved LEDs, and a holder. Unlike previous releases, it doesn't look as modeled on the Legacy morpher from some years back.
Can you repeat the price point for me, please? Because I'm sitting here in shock.
16,500 yen, or just over $113.
Good Lord.
I mean, it's not too crazy.
I think, but I mean, looking at the pictures of the thing, it looks really detailed, and you said it has a motion sensor in it.
Yeah.
So they're going high quality, and they're going for. See, that's a collector's thing. That's not to give the little Bobby to go play and do whatever it is kids do nowadays. That's a showpiece on your shelf.
I have no opinion.
Yeah. Also, Funko is putting out Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie Funko Pops. There are 8 new pops, including the Ninja Megazord and a Green Ranger figure you can get through our friends at Entertainment Earth. We will include a referral link for that in our show notes. But the pops look really nice. The Yellow Ranger pop lights up like the way the helmet lights up in that first act of the movie. and some of the Rangers weapons from the movie only weapons are also included. Like Kimberly has that whip thing in her hand.
The Terra Whip.
Yeah, the Terror Whip, exactly. And there is an Ivanhoe's pop.
Oh, I got to get me the Avenue pop. Me and my friends, the older in my friend group, we quote Power Rangers movie on almost a weekly basis at this point.
I was going to ask who the market is for Funko Pop still in 2025, but I think Greg just answered my question before I could even ask it. Because I'm surprised Funko Pops are not a completely oversaturated market at this point. They've been everywhere for so long. They have completely usurped whatever FYE was trying to do before at GameStop. Now I feel like there's more devoted Funko Pop stores than there are any other stores. If you go to a mall, if you can find one, you'll probably find 6 stores devoted to Funko Pops, and they always have full stocks because no one's buying these things anymore.
Well, I think a lot of people are buying them online because it's hard to find a specific one you're looking for in a store, so they'll just go online. The funny thing is, you don't have to collect. They're not Pokemon. You don't have to collect them all. You can only collect the ones you want, which is great. I have a couple of. I'm a baseball fan. I have a couple of baseball ones on a shelf downstairs in my little man cave. Like, You don't have to go out and collect them all. They're just. I buy them for Christmas for someone I don't know who to get. That type of thing.
So basically, they are this decade's version of a tie.
I think they're cooler than a tie, but you're not entirely wrong.
So
it's also an aesthetic I've never gotten into, but that's a personal thing.
So in comics news, on the heels of the VR Troopers comic for free comic book day, Boom Studios is launching a new VR Troopers limited comic book series written by Margaret Scott on June 2025. The reboot connects to the original series, which aired in syndication in the 90s. So the first issue will be out June 25th. This is obviously from Boom Studios. Margaret Scott is an executive producer and showrunner and a animation and comic book writer who's worked on Transformers Prime, Dragon Age Absolution, Justice League Dark, Star Wars Resistance. In comics, she's worked on series like Batgirls and Transformers. There's no logline new comic series just yet, but I think it's really cool that they're able to explore the VR Troopers world like this.
Who asked for this?
I'm glad we got it.
That's not what I asked. I asked who asked for this. VR. I mean, now we're talking. I can understand the Power Rangers comics having the lifespan that they do. As we know, Mighty Morphin is the only seasons that sell. So, and there's overlap with comic stuff. They're starting to pull into the dregs. Like, are there enough people who A, remember VR Troopers, B, liked VR Troopers, and C, are willing to shell out money for a comic book about VR Troopers, a show that got canceled because they literally ran out of material? Now, granted, if this had, blessing of the original crew behind it, they're like, well, we have all these stories that we wanted to tell, and we couldn't because the footage wasn't there. That'd be different. But since I think it's too little too late. If they wanted to do this, they should have done it when they had, the 2010s, when nostalgia for our generation was in full effect. And also, minor note that doesn't have anything to do with anything. I love how the comic covers that they have provided are significantly worse as they go on. But maybe it's because I hate the suits that they used for Ryan Steele in the second season. Metalder didn't really fit that well in with the rest of the Shiders. My Metal Heroes seasons knowledge is extremely limited. I've only seen 2 of them. I've seen Winspector and I've seen Gavan. but you could tell that it just doesn't belong. And what they used an even older season of Metal Heroes in season 2, and that suit is just hideous, even though it was supposed to be a power up, and it just the images that they're using to try and sell this product do not look great at all. Granted, it was cool that they brought. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm sorry, I'm spitballing here. I'm off the cuff. I wonder if they have that positive of a response to when they had the VR Troopers come in the recent comic adaptation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that
Yeah, I was about to ask if we were going to talk about that part of it, but yeah, they it was. I read the first 6 so far, and I was surprised they cut that deep to bring that up.
do we know the numbers that they pulled?
No.
I don't know. But, I mean, obviously they must have been impressive enough to greenlight this series.
Maybe they're just trying to strike while the proverbial iron is hot. Well, I guess maybe time will tell. Maybe these will be great. Never really know. It is kind of an untapped.
If the stories are good, who cares what the underlying property is?
True, but it's also interesting because, as you know, Power Rangers has been pretty well documented. Like, it has the releases, it has the YouTube presence. You gotta dig to find VR Troopers these days.
And to be fair, they could. It could spark interest in a new group of fans who, from 94 to 96, missed it. Or are into Power Rangers now. I'm like, who are these guys? You know, you never know until you throw something out there, and it doesn't look like it's a big, that big an investment on the comic book makers right now to make a. I see 4 covers there, but that doesn't mean it's only going to be 4 issues.
Right.
All
And
this is
also,
building up to Mystic Knights comic. You know that, right?
Oh no.
Well, I hope not. I have a lot of thoughts about Mystic Knights of Tyrion and Nogan. Most of them are negative. I'm surprised they're not doing this with Beetleborgs. You know, the show that Saban had that had the literal comic book aesthetic. It's
that
right
would be
there.
cool.
I'm surprised they didn't do that first. And I feel like Beetleborgs is more well remembered than VR Troopers. Beetleborgs was big. It was beating Power Rangers for a while in the ratings. That's the whole reason we got Justin.
The whole schoolyard, the schoolyard arguments was Beetleborgs versus Power Rangers back when we were growing up.
I don't know what kind of arguments you were getting into. I was busy looking at girls at that point, but that's neither here nor there.
I was about. I was a late bloomer.
Fair enough.
But I mean, what are they gonna bring back tattooed teenage alien fighter, or how did that go?
Tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills. I hope they do for a one-off just so people actually learn that show is a satire. People don't get that.
I don't even think that aired in my local area.
I was actually.
I did not watch that as a kid at all. Same goes for Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad.
Cyber Squad's pretty good. Amp is the funniest character they've had from that generation, and the woman who played Scorpio in Tattooed Teenage is hotter than any of the actresses that have ever been on Power Rangers. Don't at me.
And other comics news, we are getting a comic book adaptation of Rita's Rewind, the recent game out on consoles everywhere.
I don't know how I feel about that one.
I'm surprised they're not holding off on this until the Switch 2 comes out.
Why does it matter?
Because I wonder if they're going to double dip. If they're going to be like, well, yeah, you can play this on the Switch too, if you give us $10 to give you, the upscaling and everything.
The new comic book series is written by Zoe Tunnell with covers by Tango, Steve Gregson, and James Lawrence. Zoe Tunnell was best known as the comic Blade Maidens, now published in print by Dark Horse, as well as other comics such as the Godzilla Valentine's Day special at IDW and Marvel Voices Pride. She formerly wrote for websites including Polygon, The Beat, and WWAC.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. I thought that they were going to couple that with like a switch to re-release of Rita's Rewind. That's what I thought they were going to do. Sorry if I was unclear about that.
But I'm really glad to see that, hopefully this helps keep interest strong in the game, which I need to actually get back to playing. I understand they've patched it up a bit.
I never played it. I also don't like beat 'em ups. That's why.
Oh, well, that's the problem. Yeah, it was a fun beat 'em up.
Oh, please, I need to clear out some memory.
Not a very big
Did the
game.
Sega Genesis games hurt you that badly? Or you mean the computer memory?
It's only, according to my Steam page here, it's less than 600 megabytes.
Yeah, I need to RAM is what I'm clearing out here.
Uh-oh. Everything's running at once.
Ooh, boy.
But yeah, I'm excited to because it's like Rewind. It's a retelling of some MMPR style stories, but also including a lot of homages to things that came later or things that are in jokes of the Power Rangers mythos. And I would hope that a comic adaptation works maybe a bit of the same way.
I wish I had more to say about this topic. I just don't.
Yeah, it's a comic book of a video game based on a TV series. It's
It's like the Monty Python, the Holy Grail soundtrack, the album of the soundtrack of the trailer of the film.
I'll take this over NFTs. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, don't give them ideas.
Sorry, everything is slow all of a sudden.
Oh, well, the next topic you had on the notes was the Toei global expansion.
Yeah, so Deadline has a story about Toei. Their president CEO Fumio Yoshimura discussed their $2 billion global expansion strategy. Since Power Rangers isn't really producing new episodes the way it was, they're looking at ways to attack the Western market differently, including developing their own new character aimed at international audiences.
I mean, I would love for. I know it's probably not going to happen, but I'd love for Super Sentai, in and of itself, to get more of a following over in the States here.
I mean, it's not going to be Sentai because
I know
Hasbro, but
I've seen the Kamen Rider Kabuto dub from 2006, so I've seen how works get adapted over here, and I'm not talking like I'm just talking pure source material, not even like retellings like Kamen Rider Dragon Knight or anything like that. Now, granted, the most recent Sentai I've seen is Kira Major. The most recent Rider I've seen is Revice. So I'm not that into what their current palette is regarding material of shows. But, I mean, if they feel confident it can work over here, it is funny how all these articles are coming out. Just call it what it is. They always dress it up like, we have an international strategy where we want to expand. We want more money. That's all it is. They want to make more money, and that's all they need to say. I wish business people...
Like, strategy is one thing, actions are another. According to Deadline, while titles and details are yet to be announced, their slate includes a big-budget historical series based on the period of Japanese history that gave birth to the samurai. It's being co-written with U.S. writers, and Yoshimura described it as a, quote, Game of Thrones style big budget action drama. They're also working on a movie set in New York that's being set up as a co-production with the U.S., Japan, and Taiwan, as well as a rare production between Japan and an African studio. And he said, quote, we also want to look at how we can expand our existing tokusatsu special effects franchises, Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, and Power Rangers. This has always been Toei's forte, and we're hoping to expand these properties.
Yeah,
But the way that productions are set up in Japan, through the production committee, the system, the Seisaku Inkai system, makes it difficult for foreign companies to buy in. Now, in anime, for a period, I guess this is probably still the case now with Crunchyroll, but companies like Funimation would buy their way into these production committees and have a little more say in the way these properties were managed. I'm not sure if Western studios are shrewd enough to do the same thing, or would see sufficient benefits doing the same thing.
I am interested how it's going to pan out and their timeline of everything. Especially, it's a very interesting thing to announce. Now, granted, I love how they're just like global. I don't know if they're specifically targeting the United States or if they're just going for as many countries as possible. It's just interesting for this to be announced, especially after the tariffs that we had previously talked about.
Yeah, Trump wants to tariff international movies or movies produced abroad, and I'm not sure how that is even workable. But notwithstanding that, uh, Toei says they're inspired by the successes that Warner Brothers and Legendary have had with their MonsterVerse franchise, including the Godzilla films, as well as Shogun, which won all the Emmys. And the Japanese government recently introduced a 50% production rebate, which is meant to bring more international projects to shoot in Japan. Streaming is also one avenue that is working in Toei's favor. Prime Video premiered a spin-off series of Oshinoko, The Final Act, and has also run tokusatsu series including Kamen Rider Black Sun. Yoshimura pointed to Shogun in particular, saying it proved that you could have a globally successful show that is not based on internationally recognized IP. He said, quote, the advantage of manga or anime contents is that they're based on familiar properties, while live action content, even if based on a novel, might have very low awareness. Shogun was a breakthrough because it proved that live action content based on Japanese themes could be easily understood by a global audience. So they're getting a lot of calls about adaptations of its popular anime tokusatsu properties, and of course, One Piece, which is made by their related company, Toei Animation, which they own part of but don't totally control. The Netflix One Piece has been very successful, but that whole process is so complicated. Yoshimura, well, according to Deadline, Toei and Saban are not involved in what's coming next for Power Rangers, if anything's coming next. And again, we will get to that after the break. But other than that, Toei has an experienced international production and licensing team working to help potential partners.
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about it, but it's one of those things where we'll obviously have more as time progresses.
Yeah, they're basically saying, watch this space. So
An announcement for an announcement.
Yeah. And as seems to be sadly the case more and more lately, we have another loss in the Power Rangers family. Dave Mallow has died. He was an old hand in Saban going back to the 80s, in their cartoons, what have you. But Power Rangers fans know him as the announcer. He was always today on Power Rangers, last time in Power Rangers. In Digimon, his booming voice rang out as the voice of Angemon. He died in March at the age of 76. He was also the voice of Babu. He was beloved by his peers, and his voice was in a lot of different places as well.
Say what you will about the way Saban ran his various entertainment outlets, but the voice acting stable that he always used was very high quality. And if you liked one of his shows, chances are you heard multiple actors voicing multiple characters across multiple shows. And Digimon had a very close knit group where a lot of the same people kept appearing throughout time and time again. You mentioned the Angemon role as well, but also the announcing was what I knew him for to begin with, and many characters. So with voice acting roles in particular, I think it hits a little harder for people in this fandom because you're not just one beloved character, you're like 15, and that's just in one franchise. So it is not at all a surprise to see the outpouring of love for his passing.
I'm just looking over his breadth of work right now, and it's amazing how while you're growing up, this same voice actor was in so many things, and you never really realized it till you got older and took a look. Like Outlaw Star, for example. I loved that series growing up. He was in it, and he played the space race announcer and a couple others.
He has a great announcer's voice. You'll notice he has a lot of announcer voices in his career.
Yeah, and it's kind of like how it was growing up with a bunch of other actors that I'd never really realized either. It's very sad that someone that was that big a part of my childhood media consumption, has passed away.
I saw him at a panel at Palmorphicon some years back. He seemed like a really good dude.
Most of the voice actors are.
Thoughts go to his family. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about news regarding the possible future of the show.
Looking for something fun to do on Labor Day weekend? Then come to Miryoku-Con at the Lord Baltimore Hotel in Baltimore, Maryland from August 29th through 31st. Come meet voice actors Crystal Laporte and Amanda C. Miller, plus there will be cosplay, panels, vendors, and so much more. Head over to miryokukon.org to purchase your badges and book your hotel rooms today.
So you want to hear people talk about Japanese cartoons?
Anime.
But you think the other anime podcasters just aren't nerdy enough?
Sounds like you need to join forces with the Anime World Order.
Where each week 3 self-proclaimed experts offer you reviews
of titles both new and classic, news and commentary,
rants, convention reports, interviews with fandom,
and some hentai and yaoi for good measure.
So search for anime in the iTunes Music Store.
Or visit our website at animeworldorder.com.
Anime World Order, revealing the truth about anime, one podcast at a time.
And we're back now. We did get some news in March regarding the possible future of the show. Jonathan E. Steinberg and Dan Stoltz, the showrunners of the Percy Jackson series on Disney Plus, are in talks with Hasbro Entertainment and 20th Television to get a new Power Rangers live action series set up on Disney Plus. We haven't heard anything since then, but of all the possible stewards for the show, they would be excellent choices.
I mean, with everybody and their mother having their own streaming platform, this is kind of like everybody's looking for content that no one else has, and I think Disney's making a smart move by trying to scoop up another superhero thing.
I think it's ironic that the road could lead up like right back to Disney.
It just shows that Disney wants to own everything.
I mean, this isn't like this is
It's
Doctor
it's
Who.
it's just a distribution platform. I understand.
Yeah, yeah. But though 20th Television would be making the shows, and unlike Doctor Who, where Disney's just kicking them some cash.
But did we hear anything other than, yeah, we're talking about it?
Just like in talks, doesn't mean they've agreed, but you don't get into talks without having, ideas of what you do with it. We don't know.
Well, you say that. That's not always the case.
But Percy Jackson and the Olympians is, well liked. It's critically acclaimed. It was just renewed for a third season. Steinberg and Stotts have also produced The Old Man, the FX series starring Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow. And both those series are produced by 20th Television, where they house their production company, Quaker Moving Pictures. So we've heard nothing at all since then. So we don't know what the stats of these talks are. But I mean, I think, like I said, I think if this pans out, it's definitely an intriguing direction for Power Rangers. And these guys aren't going to go off and direct a Karate Kid movie.
I would like to make a controversial point. Probably going to
Go for it.
I might get pitchforked for it,
Mhm.
but I think Power Rangers kind of needs to lie dormant for a few years. Star Trek did the same thing, and look how it came back. I think if it stays low for a little while and it simmers in the background type thing, I think that would be good for it, because when it does get announced, people will get excited for it rather than getting it. Because it's been, let's be honest here, for the past few years, it's been dragged along because of contractual obligations.
Well, I wouldn't say drag, because the show was still pretty good. But we were talking this a bit off air. Cosmic Fury coming up on 2 years ago. So by the time that we get, let's say, these talks do become more than talks, or have become, or you become a contract, when things actually start happening with this show, it'll be more than 2 years since the last Power Rangers thing was transmitted.
Star Trek is also A, for adults, and B, had a much greater pedigree than Power Rangers ever did. The breaks that Star Trek has taken over the years, Star Trek has always been more popular than Power Rangers has been as a franchise. So
I'm not gonna.
It could afford to take that time off, especially because they had such a rabid fan base that would, Star Trek was not a franchise that was based on merchandise, whereas Power Rangers very much is. So when your core tenet is selling stuff, you can't really afford to take as much of a break.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I'm a little upset that it's two white guys who are doing this. I'm not gonna lie, because I want to see this franchise have things shaken up. We've seen, say what you will about Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury, they took steps in different directions and showcased different types of characters and different types of stories. And yes, I know Simon Bennett was in charge, but I feel like if you really want to try to revitalize this franchise, you need to look at it from a different point of view. And I just worry that the background of people who, lifers in in media, who kind of do same old stuff, I'm just a little concerned that we're not going to see as many changes as perhaps we would like. It depends on whether they want to show a bold new vision or if they want to have it very much be status quo.
Yeah, I think even if the showrunner's two white guys, that doesn't necessarily mean they won't be able to have other sorts of stories be told.
I
For
understand 'cause
example,
Simon Bennett was in charge during Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury. I get that.
right, the writing staff for the first season of Percy Jackson included Monica Owusu Green, who's described herself as half Spanish, half Ghanaian, and she comes from a very, very unique background, and she co-wrote the third episode of Percy Jackson. I'm not sure if I think again, I guess comparing Doctor Who has brought in writers, particularly for historical, of different backgrounds to help lend their own lived experiences to the scripts.
Right. So again, it's a little difficult to pass judgment this early when we only know the people who are like the EPs of the whole thing. When we get to see the staff more filled out and the backgrounds and where they're drawing from and what kind of stories they want to tell, then I guess I'll have more excitement for it. Because right now it just kind of seems like a Kickstarter that doesn't need public funding. Like, yeah, sure, we're gonna do this. Okay, well, good luck. Show me something.
Oh, yeah, again, it's just talks right now. Probably figuring out how exactly they go about doing it. They're gonna, like, I don't even know at this point what you would do. I've no
Or
no
especially
experience with TV.
Yeah, or balancing their obligations to a Power Rangers show with their obligations to Percy Jackson or the other projects they've got going. And that might also be part of it. So, hopefully, we'll hear more soon.
It's also tricky when you're dealing with children's franchises as well,
Yeah,
because the other thing that Power Rangers fans may not want to admit is not only are they not the target audience, the target audience for Power Rangers changed every single year. New
yeah,
season, they had an entirely new audience because when you're dealing with 3 to 7, which was the target audience when the show was done, 3 to 7 in 2008 is very different than 3 to 7 in 2009 and so on and so forth.
yeah.
So that's probably the necessity why Saban decided to change it every season. But again, you can't afford to take that much time off because they probably see it as think of how many years have gone by and how many untapped audiences they have let through because of rights issues and whatnot. So
Yeah.
that makes me just concerned. I just hope they don't rush it just to get something out there to try and draw eyes on it.
But for my purposes, I hope that they have something soon, because it's really hard to do a podcast about the show that doesn't exist.
That just sounds selfish, and you know it.
All right. Well, anyway, y'all have
Oh,
anything?
there's comics coming out. You got all this other supplemental material. Ranger Cast is gonna be just fine.
Before we go, y'all have anything to plug?
I mean, I have my YouTube channel that I mentioned once in a blue moon, Torgo Entertainment. Gig logs are going to start coming out, various gigs I do for this year. We just put out my third tier list I've ever done of Megadeth albums, which is getting surprising traction. I'm a little surprised about that. We are starting talks of doing a Power Rangers themed tier list. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, but I always try to include my origins in the various Toku fandoms and other material that I have made since then. And I just like putting out free stuff because I feel that with internet content in particular, when I start charging for things, that's when it's not as good. So that's why I do as much as I do for free.
All right, Greg, where can people find you?
Well, I'll be honest. I'm not really anywhere. I'm just your average dude. I just like Power Rangers. I don't really
Okay.
have much of anything.
Well, and if anybody isn't doing anything Labor Day weekend, I recommend you come to Baltimore and check out MiryokuCon. That's where I'll be. It's the convention I chair at the Lord Baltimore Hotel, August 29th to 31st. Registration for the weekend is just $50 if you register by July 5th. Our guests include Crystal Laporte, Amanda C. Miller, Super Art Fight. There's going to be cosplay and music, and it's going to be a really good time. I hope to see you there. So, till next time, have a good one, everybody.
I already got a good one. I just need a longer one. Good night, everyone.
Have a lovely evening, everyone.
If you like what you just heard, find us at rangercast.net or look us up in your favorite podcast app. And be sure to leave a review. That's the best way to help more people discover the show. You can also find us on X, Facebook, and now Blue Sky. Our opening theme is by Daniel Park. The ending theme is by me. RangerCast is distributed under Creative Commons license. Attribute and share alike.